politics and involved in social issues that would affect Australians for many years, much longer than me. Rod said to me a couple of weeks ago when I was complaining about something about what's going on in our country, and Rod said, look, I've had 30 odd 40 years involved in, you know, trying to make a change in this country. And I think you said to me, Rod, you find that things are just getting weirder and weirder as time goes on. And I haven't forgotten that, because, you know, it's true, we are really getting weird in this country. I mean, we are really living in strange times, not just here, but the whole Western world. I mean, we have people who, I guess, like us, who are conservatives, who are patriots, who love our country, who wish our country well, who wish our country to prosper, who wish our children to inherit a great future. And then we have what I would call the woke movement, the leftist socialist group that want to bring us down to this common denominator of crap and teach our kids stuff that's just not appropriate. And I mean, if a person like me, and you probably, doesn't like guns, well, you know what? We don't buy one. But somebody on the other side, these socialist lefties, they will say, well, let's ban guns. If I'm a vegetarian, well, you know what I do? I don't buy meat. But the other side will say, well, let's ban meat products altogether. If I was a homosexual, well, then I should be allowed to just quietly go about being a homosexual, leave my wife in private, leave me alone. But the other side want to say, well, no, let's promote it and let's legislate to make everybody appreciate it more. I mean, you know, if I don't like a talk show program, personally, I don't watch Q&A anymore because I think it's rubbish. But if I don't like it, you know what? I change channels. The other side, the lefty woke movement, if they don't like a program, you know what? They want it banned. If I don't like, for example, if I'm not a Christian and I don't believe in God or I don't have any faith, well, you know what? I don't go to church. That's my business. But the other side will say, well, we don't believe in God, so we will ban, we will legislate. So God cannot be mentioned in schools. We will ban religious instruction in schools. We will ban swearing on the Bible in Parliament. People who are true patriots and believe in democracy will say, if I have a belief, I will just follow my beliefs, that's up to me. But I'm not going to force them on you. But the other side are forcing their beliefs on us. They're forcing this onto our children. That's the difference. It's the ability to have a choice. And that's what patriotism is all about. It is not forcing our beliefs on somebody else, but having the right to have that belief. And I don't care whether you agree with me or not. As long as you're allowed to disagree with me and I'm allowed to disagree with him, that's what we aim for. That's democracy. That's what it's all about. That's why the Greeks had started democracy in the Senate, you know, way back whenever it was, those who follow ancient history. But, I mean, I'm sure a lot of you have seen that footage of Australia Day last year. That Aussie guy in Melbourne was standing there on the streets of Melbourne with an Aussie flag wrapped over his shoulders. The police came up to him and said, will you please move along? And he said, no, I choose not to. And they came back again and said, please move along. And he said, no, I choose not to. Then the cops came back and said, look, there's a group of communists who are holding a demonstration, will be coming down the street shortly. They may be offended by the Aussie flag and they may cause a civil disturbance. So therefore, you move on so you don't create the atmosphere for them to complain about you. It was easy for the cops to arrest one law-abiding Aussie patriot than take on 30 communists who oppose him. So that guy was eventually picked up, carried off, arms and legs, and thrown in a paddy wagon and arrested. His only crime was he was standing on the side of the road wearing an Australian flag on Australia Day because he might offend those who don't like it. This is what we've come to. So, and you know, we've got people now who are being held responsible for things that happened generations ago. We're all responsible for displacing the Aboriginals. In America now they're talking about compensating the blacks for the slave trade, which happened 150 years ago. Thank God for them there was a slave trade, otherwise they'd be back in bloody Africa right now, putting up with the crap that they have in Africa. But you know, we are being told that we are responsible for what our forefathers did, and yet we don't hold people responsible for what they're doing right now. For people who are blocking the traffic and lying down and saying we want, you know, Extinction Rebellion, whatever. You know, we don't hold anybody responsible for anything, but we're all responsible for what happened 100 years ago. I mean, if anyone can see common sense in that, well, tell me what it is. I mean, for example, a man can now say that he's a woman. Have his gender changed, it's all legal, I'm a woman. But the fright, and if he wants to call himself a woman, good luck to him. Off you go, mate, have a happy life. But they are now legislating that the rest of, if he wants to pretend he's a woman, that is great, good luck to him. If that's what he wants to pretend to be, good on him. But they are now legislating that we all have to pretend that he's a woman as well. So we all have to pretend.
We don't let him in women's sports.
This is, so, you know, I mean, it is wrong in our society for us to have capital punishment and to kill murderers. But it is right to abort 9-month-old babies. Wrong to kill murderers, right to kill babies. You know, we have this disease, which I think is overtaking the Western world, is spearheaded by a few major internet companies. You know, you've got the Facebook and Google and Twitter and all these things. These organisations are the greatest propaganda machine the world has ever seen. The greatest propaganda machine ever. And they can't be controlled. They can't be controlled by governments, they can't be controlled by us. It is frightening. We are really up against it, and they are backing all this stuff I've just been talking about. They support it lock, stock and barrel. If you're alright, you know, there was somebody I saw on Facebook not long ago, published on Facebook, the Lord's Prayer. It was removed by Facebook because it was hateful. The Lord's Prayer, for God's sake, because it was hateful. This is Facebook. You know, these are people are evil, and they are controlling the agenda of the entire Western world, and our kids live on social media. It's all they see. So, is this impossible to overcome? Well, it would pretty much seem like it, but you know what? Lots of things though, throughout history, lots of things have been impossible, right up until the time they weren't. Right up until the time it was done. They were deemed impossible. The 4-minute mile, landing man on the moon, anything can be done. But it won't be done if we all give up, and that's why it is great to have groups like this. We are essential to the survival of the Western civilization. Believe it or not, it's going to come from people like us. If it doesn't come from us, it won't come at all. It won't. But you know what? It is so. However, we have to be really aware of what we do. There's a guy called Thomas Sewell. You probably heard Sewell. He runs an organisation called National Socialist Network, NSN. He was on Current Affair recently. He went into a Channel 9 studio and attacked one of the security guards while they were having a program on him. He's got a group of about 20 people. They go out into the bush, they wear black t-shirts, they do the Nazi salutes, and they're a white supremacist, extremist right-wing organisation. However, they also call themselves patriots, and that's where it affects us, because ASIO and the federal government have now said, and Peter Dutton's Office of Home Affairs have now said, they're going to look into all right-wing patriotic movements because we are potential extremists. It's no longer the Muslims, it's no longer the left-wing lunatics, it's us. We are the potential danger. You know, the guy that killed all the Muslims in New Zealand 2 years ago, we are all potential people like him, apparently. And they are going to be looking at us really, really closely. As Lee would tell you if you ask her, ASIO have already contacted Lee about, what, 12 months ago, Lee? 80 months ago? And it was a friendly contact, and it was a, they didn't have an issue with us, but they just wanted us to be aware that, well, one, they were watching us, and two, that if any ratbags join our group, would we let them know? Well, we will, if they do. But the thing is, they are watching. And now patriotism is now no longer something to be proud of, it's something that we need to be very careful about even saying, because the Australian newspaper about 2 years ago printed an article about these rise of right-wing extremist groups, and it said there are now 50 patriotic extremist groups in Australia. Why did they use the word patriotic? Patriotism means love of one's country. Why is that a bad thing? But it's becoming a bad thing. They are changing it. Patriotism is morphing into something evil. that we are going to go out and murder people in mosques. We are not going to murder anybody in a mosque. So I guess what I'm saying is we need to be cleaner than clean. We need to be absolutely pristine, snow white, pure, because they will use it against us. We are now becoming the bad guys. We are here because we are the good guys and we want to stop the bad guys. But it is now becoming as if we are the bad guys. We are the people that want to protect Australian values. We are one of the people who want to protect, stopping aborting 9-month-old babies. We're the people that want to stop teaching our kids in school that it's okay to, to be any one of 53 different genders, which is absolute garbage. But we are the ones that are trying to protect our country, and they are trying to make it out like we are the bad guys. Now, we know we're not the bad guys, but we have to be really, really smart, because if we start saying stupid stuff publicly, we start saying, oh, well, we're going to get up there and we will rise up and, we will do. You've got to be very careful, because all the government is looking for, and the Department of Home Affairs and ASIO are looking for, is that they want to start clamping down on right-wing groups. Because you know what, it's not trendy to pick on the left-wing communist, socialist, left-wing woke, vegan, Extinction Rebellion people. Oh, I know those people are lovely. We are becoming the bad guys. Make no mistake, we are becoming the bad guys. We cannot afford to give them a reason to think that we are the bad guys. We are not the bad guys. The future of the Western world lies in hands of people like us, who think like us. And as Rod just said to me earlier, the pendulum swings. And God, I hope it swings soon, because our generation have almost given up the fight to the next generation, who are university educated idiots, absolute idiots. Hopefully the generation behind might swing the other way. I hope so. But we need to make sure that we continue to survive. Not just survive, but prosper. But if we do stupid stuff, if we fight among ourselves, if we pick a fight with another group similar to us because they believe that koala bears should have 2 trees each, and we believe they should have 3 trees each, so we have a fight. No, we do not fight with people who are the same as us. You don't do it. Don't do it, because you know what, the real enemy's out there. If we start having issues with other, conservative, decent, patriotic, right-wing organisations, we are just going to shoot ourselves in the foot. We are here for the right reasons. At the last meeting at Clontarf, Lee, there was a group there that were having a meeting. They were a bunch of oldies, and they were I think they called themselves some resistance group. And
they called themselves the People's Revolution.
The People's Revolution. They were all oldies. If they were talking about rising up against all this crap that I was talking about earlier, there are plenty of us out there, but we're all kind of divided and separated. And there's nothing wrong with that, but as long as we don't fight with them, because they are our natural friends. They are our natural blood brothers. Don't fight with them. And if somebody, even in your own group, if Cameron says he's not going to get a COVID vaccination, I say, well, I'm going to get one. It doesn't matter. As I said last meeting, what matters is that we have the freedom of choice. That's what matters. It doesn't matter whether you agree with every single thing your fellow conservatives believe in, as long as you believe in the right to have that belief. It's the old saying, I do not agree with what he says, but I stand for his right to say it. I don't know who said that. It was a famous... Who was it? Voltaire, there you go. So a long time ago.
As if you know.
And I wouldn't know that. I'm not very well educated. But that's what it's all about. We have to support each other's right to have an opinion. It doesn't matter whether we agree. What we agree in is that we all have a right to have an opinion. That's what democracy is all about. So please, any of you ever have an issue with another fellow patriot about a minor issue, forget it. It's chicken shit. It doesn't matter. The big issue, we've got to fight the bad guys. That's what we're here to do. Little stuff doesn't matter. Vaccination, no vaccination, I don't care. I don't care. You know what matters? Is the right to choose. Whether you want to vaccinate, you don't want to vaccinate, you want 5G, you don't want 5G, it doesn't matter. As long as you have the right to protest, you have the right to say what you want, you have the right to follow your own path. That's what democracy is about. That's what freedom is about, to follow your own path. Don't pick fights with fellow conservatives, because honestly, there are so many bad guys out there. They're the guys we've got to be fighting. So the True Blue Crew is a great organisation. It wouldn't exist without Lee and Cam standing right there. Wouldn't exist at all. So please support them. The Gold Coast now is got their, you know, Neil and Peter are trying to get the Gold Coast branch going. Support them, turn up to the meetings and support them. And, you know, do not let little issues get in the road.